Hey folks, today is the 29th of December 2016, and I just wanted to, during the shutdown, I just wanted to spend some time going over the OCI process as it was applicable to me. Now, the OCI is the Overseas Citizen of India card, and I recently went through that process. I received my OCI card, and I just wanted to share the trials and tribulations, and just in general what the process is like, and where I am with the process, and how it's been for me. Okay, so I'm before I get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that I am not an attorney, and I'm certainly not your legal advisor. I'm just a Silicon Valley techie, and I'm gonna assume that you've done your own research or you're going to do your own research and check out the Cox and Kings, the CKGS, and the Government of India websites to get the latest and greatest updates. Because the process will change, and this video may end up being obsolete or defunct. Okay. And if you have any general legal questions, etc., contact your legal advisors or your attorneys in general. Okay. So what is the purpose of this video? Basically, it's to explain my OCI process. Okay, it was to clear the fear, the uncertainty, and the doubt, the FUD on the OCI process. So I have a lot of coworkers in general who are just wary about the process. They're in their own state of inertia. They have their own things to do, and they don't just want to be bothered with this whole OCI application process and just dealing with all the paperwork, the um, all of the hassles that come along with the application of the OCI process. But depending on where you are, so if you spend the 2 or 3 months that you spend in the OCI process are definitely going to be well worth it. And depending on who you talk to, if they are in their OCI process, they're going to bitch, moan, complain in general. They're going to be frustrating. They're going to talk about how overwhelming the process is, and the people that you talk to who have already received their OCI cards are just going to, you know, tell you how easy and smooth the process was. So depending on where you are in the process, you're just going to hear different opinions or different thoughts on the process. Also, I wanted to go over some of the relevant websites that are relevant in December of 2016, and perhaps these websites will also help you in the process. Okay. So, who are the target audience? Who am I making this video for, right? So basically, you are either a naturalized U.S. citizen and looking to get an OCI, and you were previously a citizen of India, or you may have, relatives like your parents were from India, or your parents were OCI citizens, um, and you're just looking to know about the process. I'm not going to go over the forms, etc., or the documents that you need to fill out, because I was not in that situation. Um, or you are in the process of your U.S. naturalization and you intend to start the OCI process after getting your naturalization, or you're in general just curious about the process and want to know what it's like. Okay. And we're going to discuss a few things. So basically, you have a U.S. passport and you've received your naturalization certificate. These are two important documents that you have to submit during your OCI process. And there's a whole bunch of other documents that you need to provide as well. But these are essential. You also need to renounce your Indian citizenship, and basically surrender an Indian passport. So I have received my OCI, but I'm yet to receive my renunciation certificate. So basically, there were issues with with the process itself, and depending on your situation, the process may just work out smooth for you, or it may just delay for some unknown reason. Okay. Um, Also, we'll talk about whether you want your OCI, whether you want to spend the time, the 2 month time, and furnish all the documents and get your OCI, or you want to basically apply for an Indian visa. An Indian visa is valid for 10 years, and I believe they also have a visa on arrival. So you just pay up front, and then you get your visa, and you're guaranteed to get into India without any questions once you pay the fee online. Now, a lot of those depend on your situation, how urgently you need to go to India, how urgently you need to travel, um, and what is it that you need, whether you want the convenience of an OCI or whether you're willing to just live by a visa year over year. The benefits, of course, of getting an OCI definitely outweigh those um, who just wish to get a visa and travel to India. I mean, of course, you have to be eligible to get an OCI. And of course, there are age issues, okay, so you need to consider. So if you're applying for your children, and if they're under 20, then each time they renew their passport, as long as they're under 20, you have to keep renewing their OCI as well. Now, if you're over 20 and under 50, during that time, you will have to apply for your OCI just once. And as long as you have the original passport during the time that you had your OCI, you're allowed, I believe, to take use the OCI card, that passport, to travel to India. And of course, you need your current passport if the original passport that you filed your OCI with has expired. And of course, if you're over 50, then you have to, regardless of where you are in the stage, if you are over 50, you have to sort of get your OCI reissued to you at least once. Okay. So, and then now let's talk about the process in general. And for that, I will have to switch over to a drawing sheet, right? All right, folks. Now we're back on the drawing board. Let's go ahead and discuss who the key players are to guide you, or who you would probably have to work with or know of while you're applying for your OCI. Okay. So initially, on the way in, I mean, you're never gonna have to talk to these guys. So this is, let's say, this is your government of India, okay? And these are the folks that are sitting in New Delhi, and as of 2016, these are the folks that are going to be actually printing out your OCI card. Now, the OCI card is pretty much a mini version of a passport. It is actually a visa, or you can think of it as a permanent residentship for India. So that is what the government of India, as of 2016, these are the guys printing this OCI card, and they would then send it over to your respective consulate. So, so if you are in the United States, you know that there are consulates in New York, in DC, in Houston, and in San Francisco. Now, the San Francisco consulate was where I had to send where my outsourced location had to send their documents to. But essentially, this is the government of India, and depending on the country you're in, they have decided to. So let's say you're in UK, Germany, or wherever you are, they have decided that they are going to offshore or outsource their paperwork to a third party company. And at least for the United States, the third party company is Cox and Kings. So it's Cox and Kings Global services. Okay, and what these guys do is, if this is you, you would go to their website. You would go to their website and you would start your OCI application process with these guys here. Um, and then they would tell you exactly on their website. They have all the details available on how you would start your OCI process, what you would need to do, where you would need to start, what you need to send, what the checklists are, what the process is like, and so on. So all of that is available on their website. Now, you would essentially go ahead and start your application on the Cox and Kings global website, but there is also a need for you to go to the Government of India website and actually um, do some work on their website as well. So essentially, your OCI form you would fill on their website. And what that means is you're going to be uploading your signature. They need your passport photos, and they need a form that needs to be filled out. And once you have all of this filled out, they are going to come up with a number for you. Okay, so this number is some kind of a USAA number. It's a long number. It ends, I think, with the current year, I believe. Okay, and so once they give you this number, you would come in and you would need to essentially hook up this application that you um, filled in with the Government of India website, and then you would link that. You would provide that same USA number on the Cox and Kings global website, and then you would go ahead and do whatever you need to do on their website. Like for instance, here's where this is where you actually started your application process. This is where you would complete your application process. Like you would send them, you would make the payments here, you would print out your shipping labels here, you would print out your documents, you would print out your checklist, and what have you, and you would do all of that on the Cox and Kings global website. Now, once you've gone through their website and you have essentially printed out all of the documents that they need, they have a huge checklist, and it's not too complicated. It's pretty trivial. You should have all of the paperwork handy. Things like your U.S. passport, your nationalization certificate, your birth certificate, driver's license, what have you. There's a whole bunch of paperwork that you need to furnish with them. Now, once you do that, you would then send them, or you would print out a FedEx shipping label of some kind, and then you would send them out a FedEx package with all of the documents that you need to fill out and send to them. So essentially, they will give you some kind of a checklist, and you just need to check everything that's applicable to you. I mean, it's a pretty long checklist. So once you have provided all of that, they would let you know if everything is good, if it's not good, or if they've submitted it to the consulate. So basically, that is your pre-submission and post-submission. Those are your pre and post-submission steps. Okay. Okay, so hopefully that gave you some kind of an idea as to what is the process like. Essentially, the OCI process is working with your outsourcing center or your outsourcing location, going to their website, filling out the application form with whatever is involved at the time, and essentially making sure that all of the documents are ready and the required fees have been paid. Now that also requires that you have renounced your Indian passport. So your renunciation step needs to be completed. Now, as of November 2016, I believe that their website has been upgraded so you can do all of that in one step as part of one application. Okay. So essentially, you print out you send them the required fees. You essentially fill out your renunciation paperwork. You print out all of the documents that are needed, the application forms, provide all of the stuff on the Government of India website, that's passport.gov.in, and your CKGS or whoever your outsourcing agency is, they should redirect you to their website where you can essentially start the application process. The second step, that was the first step. The second step is post submission. Okay. This is where your outsourcing center has received all your documents, and now they are just going to do a sanity and ensure that whatever you have provided is valid. And if everything is valid according to these guys, they would then send it out to the consulate. So in my case, it would have been the SF consulate. And these guys would then send it to the Government of India, who would then print out the OCI card and then mail it back to these guys. Then these guys would mail it back to these guys, and they'll let me know everything is good. If, however, there are any issues in the process during the post submission phase, they would put your application on hold and essentially make sure that you have submitted all the documents correctly. Once everything has been submitted, and so basically one thing to note is that these guys are pretty much folks that the I mean, I don't know, these guys are guys that would just go by the checklist. So if they have asked you for your birth certificate, you better provide the birth certificate. If they've asked you for an Indian passport photocopy, which is I don't know if it needs to be notarized or what have you, make sure that it's notarized. If they've asked you for your U.S. passport and your U.S. naturalization certificate, make sure that everything that they ask you on their checklist you have furnished and provided to these guys. Okay? And that is important because if you do not, these guys are simply going to put your application on hold and essentially ensure that you submit it. Now, if whether it seems reasonable or unreasonable, um, these guys don't really care. These guys are just going to demand it. All right. So that's one thing to bear in mind. If they've asked it, you have it, and it's applicable to you. You better provide it to them. Now, once that's done, essentially what they're going to do is they are going to send it out to the consulate. Now, 2 months later, the consulate would come back and say, okay, we know what, everything is good. We've printed out your mailing. We've printed out your OCI card, and it's been sent to, and basically there's tracking available everywhere. So there's tracking available on the CKGS website as well as on the Government of India website. Now, I trust the Government of India website more than the CKGS website, just because the CKGS website, during the time I was applying, it was going through some changes and the process was changing and what have you. And so I just went by the Government of India website, and so as soon as these guys mentioned that my stuff was shipped to the consulate, to the these guys would ship it out to the consulate, to the SF consulate, and then SF consulate would then ship it out to me. That's when the third step starts, which is the matchup process. Okay. Now check on the CKGS website. Not everything follows this, but for some, I think for some locations, as soon as your OCI card has been printed out and mailed out to the consulate, you can immediately send out your passport back to you can ship your passport to these guys. So you will ship your U.S. passport to CKGS, and that is essentially the matchup process where you will ship out your U.S. passport. Is and I think I used USPS at this point because FedEx was just getting too expensive. So I just mailed it out via USPS. It cost me $6 versus $15 that FedEx charges. And so I mailed it out to them, and then these guys sent it to the embassy, I believe, and then within about 3 weeks, I had received my OCI and my U.S. passport. Now, renunciation certificate, I really cannot comment too much about because I have not received my renunciation certificate. It should have arrived before, but again, depending on your situation and where you are, you may be lucky and everything may just work, or you may be stuck and you never know where things will get delayed. So that is in a nutshell. These are the three steps, folks, where it's the pre-submission process, which is probably the hardest because you have a lot of documents to print out. Filling out the application is not too hard. You just need to essentially ensure. I believe the hard part for some would be essentially to get your signature and your photo and your proof of Indian citizenship. I think those are the three: proof of Indian citizenship, down to a certain 200 KB size or something. They have some kind of a size limitation. So that is probably the hardest part. I mean, you need to know how to scan your documents and essentially upload those, print those out, because those are really important. You will definitely have to do that. Otherwise, these guys are going to put it on hold if you do not submit all the docs. So basically, again, in a nutshell, to summarize, OCI process is handled by the outsourcing center. There is a pre-submission step where you pay them the dollars, you ensure you have your renunciation completed, or you file the renunciation along with your OCI application itself. You print all the documents, you print out all the application forms, you upload whatever is needed on the Government of India website. That's that, and then you just wait once you've sent everything. The post submission is just a waiting game if everything is good. Otherwise, these guys will put it on hold and ask you for some information, and you can definitely call them, email them, or what have you. One thing to note is that if you make a mistake in while submitting the forms, there's a point where if you have made a mistake, you cannot go back and edit the document. Okay, so once you've submitted, that's it. You've submitted it. And so if you've linked these two, saying because you've done something on the Government of India website and you come back and say you use the USAS number and you link these two together, then it's very hard to go back and change. I mean, it's impossible to go back and change it. So just make sure that when you're doing everything, do it correctly without any issues. Otherwise, you're gonna have to hit this refund business, and that's another hassle. So again, just make sure when you're doing it, this pre-application, the pre-submission step is pretty important. Just ensure that you're doing everything correctly. The post submission is just a waiting game, and then finally the match-up process, and basically you'll get the updates from the Government of India website. Um, and that's it, folks. Hopefully you guys will get your citizenship or your OCI, the Overseas Citizenship of India documents back without any issues. If you have issues, the CKGS folks are pretty helpful. It's just the uncertainty. You don't know who's going to work on your documents, and there's always someone or the other who is going to mess something up. If you're lucky, everything is going to go well. So good luck, folks, and let me know how it went. Again, I'm not your legal advisor. Hope this helps. Pardon the handwriting and the scribbling, but I just thought this would be helpful and just clear some of the FUD around the process. It takes about 2 or 3 months for the whole process to complete, but you'll definitely be happy once it's all done. All right, thanks, guys. Folks, another thing that I forgot to mention is the CKGS website. Um, Take a look at the CKGS website. All the links are provided in the description. So when you go to their website, it's going to tell you how to apply, what the steps are, basically the steps that are needed, that you need to follow this is the before submission, the pre-submission, the post-submission. What you need to do is basically waiting for it, and the match-up process, which explains what you need to send to them as soon as they ask you to, or as soon as the um, government of India has shipped the passport to the consulate. This is the passport.gov.in website, and this is where you would essentially um, go ahead and start your process. Basically, it consists of two parts, Part A and Part B, where you would upload your image, your photo, and your signature, and some other documents like your proof of Indian citizenship and what have you. There's some captcha here. Just go ahead and fill all of this information and go ahead and get that done. This is the San Francisco embassy website, the consulate in San Francisco. These guys, they definitely have some information that you need. Things like the U visa sticker. So when I received my OCI card, I was surprised that I did not get a U visa sticker, and essentially they have discontinued providing the U visa sticker, and they just sent you a OCI card instead. Okay. Um, there's another website that tells you what in a nutshell, it gives you enough information on what's needed. Um, some information about where the consulates are, how do you fill the application forms, and what have you. And there's another website that and this is the checklist, the documents required for the OCI card. Basically, this is the OCI application form. You need to provide the online form, the additional particulars form. Now, you need to really be sure that you download this from the CKGS website, because I downloaded it from some Google search and that was not the right one, so they put my application on hold. You need to provide your US passport, your Indian passport, maybe your signature, your photos, birth certificate, original passport, photocopies, your naturalization certificate, proof of renunciation, or you renounce it at the time of application, proof of Indian origin, your driver's license, things like that. If you've changed your name, provide that documentation, things like that. I mean, this is just a general guideline. Most of the information is available on the CKGS website, so you can get the checklist from these guys. So I